Shout out to everybody out there on White Street. You already know what it is. Salute to everybody.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to SteveBussaGS. We got another scorecard reaction for you guys, and you already know what it is. Huge shout out to April G. Showers. If you don't know who April is also a reactor on YouTube. She had asked me to come and check this out for her. Now, we are not going to be viewing this through the lens of an established artist. April is actually, I believe, sharing a type of like spoken word poem that she wrote because she survived the school shooting, and I believe this is like kind of like her way of releasing that and like therapeutic almost to kind of like share her feelings and emotions. So we're not going to be scoring this, obviously. This video is literally just to help support and show love to somebody that asked me to check something out, and for us to enjoy what she's written. So that's how we're going to go into this. So do me a favor, go ahead and run the gauntlet for me. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, little bell notification guy down in the comments. Talk about what is your release. Like right now, I believe we are about to jump into this, and April is using this as a way of communicating a stressful and traumatic thing that she went through in her life. What do you guys use? What are your outlets? What are your coping mechanisms? Let's have a conversation about it down in the comments. And for now, we will just hop right into this. Now, even though we're not...
What up, YouTube family? It's April G. Shower.
Now, even though we're not going to be scoring this, if I find that there's some type of input that I can give while we go through this, we're not going to do like a bar breakdown, because you don't judge somebody's traumatic experience that they went through. But we will point out the things that we either enjoy or don't enjoy as we go through to kind of add a little bit of life to the reaction. You feel me? Let's get it.
We're back at y'all with a poem. I just wrote this last night. I'm doing something a little different with this one. It is called So Can You. But this poem is a lot, not a whole lot different than what I normally write, but I go into detail about the school shooting, which I have never done before in a piece of writing of mine. Never. I've never done that. I didn't.
Which huge shout out to her too. Like, this can't be easy to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, first and foremost, like, why am I putting it on my channel other than just to support her? To also try and normalize using these type of outlets as a type of therapy. Like, she has an audience that she is able to talk to and bounce ideas off of and get it off of her chest. And I feel like we as a society having the ability to normalize people who go through traumatic experiences, sharing it with the world and not getting backlash, and just like being embraced about the trauma they've went through, I think that's super important. I think that's super dope.
Know whether to just read it or whatever, but I picked out some music to go in the background with it, and I'm gonna do like spoken word with music in the background, and it's a lot harder than it looks, y'all, so just bear with me. This is very difficult for me to do. I hope y'all like it. I hope it helps someone. So yeah,
see, and that's the important part, is like I hope it helps somebody. Like, that's the whole point of doing this, right? Like, we're not here like, oh my god, this is gonna be the next like huge evolution in fucking anything, you know what I'm saying? No, we're here to support each other. We're here to give an outlet for people to, like, again, like I said, normalize this type of therapy.
it's called So Can You. It took me a little over 2 hours to write. Very difficult piece. Hope y'all like it. April G. Squad. It's fun. Love y'all. It's good. I have not watched the news since November of '95, when the school shooting happened and my best friend didn't survive. It was a Wednesday morning, just a normal school day, around 7:50 a.m. when we heard shots in the hallway. At first we thought it was a prank, some kid just acting dumb, setting off firecrackers. Then everybody started to run. My best friend and I were in the hall. She had just bent down to get water from the fountain. Then again we heard that sound. He had just shot 2 teachers in the other hallway, then rounded the corner and held the rifle up to aim. His target was another teacher standing by me and my friend. He aimed and took his shot and hit her by accident. I glanced down the hallway. There he stood in a black trench coat. My best friend stood up from the fountain, her eyes widened as she grabbed her throat. I just stood there in shock. She fell down to the ground. Kids were running and screaming. I'll never forget that sound.
There's something to be said. Like, yeah, it's very concept tracky, but I don't know. It feels entirely different knowing that something is true coming into this, as opposed to just hearing like a rapper get on and tackle a topic that they are disassociated from. There's something to be said for that, about like a certain amount of hauntingness of hearing the actual like transactions as they happen. Like,
that teacher was yelling at us all, everyone to the lunchroom. The double doors slammed shut. No one knew what to do. 2 teachers and a student tackled him to the ground, took the rifle away, and just held him down. He was basically my neighbor. We all rode the bus together. Little did we know the day before that our lives would soon change forever. I remember getting back on the bus, just staring out the window, wondering if she was all right the entire way back home. The next thing I remember, I was sitting on the couch, listening to the news and radio with my mom in our house. Miss Foster passed away. Miss Yancey survived. A gunshot wound to the head. Still in shock, I not cried. I just sat there waiting for an update on my friend. With every news report I heard, I thought, is this really happening? All of a sudden, on the radio, I heard them say her name. I quickly muted the TV so I could hear what they were saying. Please, God, let her be alright. Please say that she's stable. I'll never forget those words. Dying college just out on the operating table. I just sat there in complete shock. Didn't even shed a tear. We didn't go to school the next day. I was filled with so much fear. 2 days later,
so she's not given. There's not a lot of room to breathe here. To like, I'm trying to find natural pauses to not interrupt the flow of the story and everything like that. This is some fucking deep shit, man. Like, unfortunately, and as a father, like, you look at April. Obviously, April's no spring chicken. Love you to death, doll. But like, I'm thinking of like kids that are in school. You know what I'm saying? Like, as a father, when you're reading this, I'm not seeing her read this. I'm imagining a kid that is going through this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't. It's excuse me. It's wild to put yourself in that type of position, because that's what music does, right? Like, it helps transfer you into like another plane of existence, so you can live out the lyrics and stuff like that you're hearing. And it is terrifying when like you disassociate with the fact that this is an adult who is trying to cope with something that happened, and you start looking at it through the lens of there is a child that experiences. There are children all over the United States that have actually experienced this, and this is not like something that she has just lived herself. Like, this is a shared experience that she has with so many other kids. It's kind of fucked, but like, it is what it is.
Get on the bus because my friend was gone. So my mom drove me to school. I felt so scared and alone. I remember pulling up to the school, seeing the yellow crime scene tape, news reporters and cameras everywhere. My whole body began to shake. Then I walked in the front door, so quiet you could hear a pin drop. It felt like a living nightmare. I started crying and couldn't stop. That entire day at school, all any of us did was cry. No counseling, no therapy. We all just wondered why. See, back then that didn't happen, so no one knew what to do. We never talked about it. My life became unglued. I always wanted to be a teacher ever since I was a little girl. That day changed all of that. Hell, it changed my entire world. I began having flashbacks, daily panic attacks, Didn't feel safe anymore, wanted my friend and my life back. Diagnosed with PTSD, the anxiety I could not escape. Didn't know how to handle it, so I began to self-medicate. Started smoking weed at 16, felt some relief at last. It helped me to not have to feel the pain and grief from my past. Smoked it daily over 10 years and started trying new things. Being an addict was never a thought, or the consequences it brings. Got pregnant in '07 and I quit it all. I did it for my child though, and never thought I would fall. Had to have a C-section. The doctor gave me a prescription. I took them like I should at first. It quickly turned into addiction. Fast forward nearly 4 years later, was taking 40 to 60 a day. I finally realized I had a problem when the choice was ripped away. I was a functioning addict, a nurse, a mom, paid my bills. No one knew how bad it was. My best friend was the pills. My phone rang in '04. It was my dad with some news. He said they found something on my little brother's brain, my mind I was about to lose. We went to a lot of doctors trying to find the...
So yeah, there's not a lot of natural pauses in this for me to jump in and talk, so I'm gonna have to cut her off at a couple points here to kind of dig into it. She said a lot. I thought this was going to be just about the school shooting. This might even be bigger and more important than I thought. Like, then you're tackling the aftermath. Like, we all hear about the school shootings on the news and stuff like that, and you can, even in like Glee and Degrassi and like, you know what I'm saying, like the shows about high schools and stuff like that, about schools, they capture the in the moment terror of a school shooting happening in progress, but there's not too much media stuff that revolves around the after effects and how that can affect an otherwise average person. Like, this is an important look into what happens after a school shooting that I don't know that there's much out there on. I don't know that there's documentaries on someone who survived school shootings 10 years later, like picking back up with those who were in Columbine or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's very interesting. I'm sorry that you had to go through this stuff, April. And it doesn't sound like it's over yet. We're about halfway through, and it's still getting heavy. But I can't help but feel like how important of an opportunity to use your platform to put this stuff out into the world and maybe connect with other people who have gone through this, that this is happening. So this is, it's a different form of art. Like, it is. This isn't like this channel, we mostly discuss music. We mostly just discuss like bars and being able to write. This isn't about any of that stuff. This is literally just about like, hey, this is something that is a human experience that unfortunately someone had to go through, but being able to use her platform to kind of escalate it like this and put it out so more people can, I don't know, hear a voice that is similar to theirs if they've experienced this. Like, it's dope. I rock with it.
We were all devastated when they said, "We're so sorry, it's brain cancer." At that time, my brother was just 11. I had not had my son yet, so I just take more and more, so the pain I could forget. He then went into remission, but me, I stayed addicted. I was so angry at God, I felt I deserved to be afflicted. So anyway, back to 2011, my son was then 3. I finally swallowed my pride and talked to my family. I went to rehab that August, so ashamed and full of guilt, but I knew I had to do it, so my life I could rebuild. I was there for 3 months, missed my son's 4th birthday. Felt like such a failure, but I stayed there anyway. By then my little brother was 17, and the cancer had come back. God, what else can possibly happen? Can you please cut me some slack? I came home that October. Everything felt so strange. Been addicted to drugs over 15 years. My whole life had to change. I got a sponsor, worked the steps, and it changed and saved my life. But recovery hasn't been easy. Been through much pain and strife. My little brother passed away. Watched him take his last breath. Thought nothing would be worse than the shooting and my best friend's death. But boy, was I so wrong. I just wanted to be dead. So 6 months after he died, I put a gun to my head. The only thing that stopped me from killing myself that night was the thought of my son or mom finding me, so I knew I had to fight. I put the gun up and fell to my knees, crying out to God for help. God, please let me know my brother's okay. Help me to help myself. I'd been up over 48 hours, so I laid on my left side in bed. I was half asleep, half awake, still wishing I was dead. When all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I felt someone's hand grab my right shoulder. I was confused, trying to understand. Then I saw my little brother's beautiful eyes, so bright and blue. Up in the clouds, I felt him hug me, and I knew God had answered my prayer and let me know he was okay. I sat up crying tears of comfort for the first time since he passed away. I then went back to nursing. Not gonna lie, it was hard, but I knew it's what I needed to do to get me out of the dark. Then a year later got a call. My big brother was very ill. I thought, here we go again. Is this seriously God's will? I then watched him take his last breath, February 2018. Why's my family going through this? It was so hard to stay clean. Then I began having medical issues, could not work anymore, lost my home, my peace of mind, and just cried out, why me, Lord? My son and I moved in with my mom. I was in a state of bad depression, stayed isolated in my room, writing in music was my therapy session. Then I found these things called reactions while binge watching YouTube. Loved every minute of it and thought, this is something I could do. However, I was very hesitant due to my physical looks, my age, my teeth, just everything. So my head, I just shook. But I kept on watching them. No Life Shack was my inspiration. Then went to a live stream one night and that chat and script work were my motivation. Then November 10th, I did my first reaction. I was so
What I like about this is it's taking you not just through the lows, but also on ways and opportunities to bounce back from the lows too. Like, I think that's important, that this isn't like just like a woe is me story that she's trying to put out there to guilt. Like, this is like, hey, this is the process of what I've went through and how bad things can get, and things can always get worse, but there's always been outlets and there's always been things that I can do to bounce back no matter how bad things have gotten. I think that's important when delivering a message. So that's definitely dope and to be noted with the overall experience here.
so very nervous, but it brought me satisfaction. Now here it is 6 months later, and I am now April G. Showers. Never thought this could happen by just watching YouTube for hours. I never thought I'd be a 40-year-old YouTuber with nearly 3K subs. So if you're feeling hopeless, I'm proof of what can happen by not giving up. Yes, I have many haters. I'm told daily I'm wasting my time, but I know I'm doing what I'm meant to do, and no one will ever change my mind. So if you're feeling alone, depressed, lost, and worthless, I've been there as well, and I promise you have a purpose. Don't listen to the negativity. Always keep pushing through. I guess what I'm trying to say is if I can do it, so can you.
Here we go, pivot! Pivot! Penny, that's where I sit. Hey, scram! Oh, yeah!
We've got all your favorites.
know what the heck,
HBO
man.
Max.
When you need a sweet treat or just a little break, Wawa has you covered with your favorite handcrafted.
There's no reason for the ads to be that
milkshakes
loud.
and-
Alright. Is there anything else?
Very difficult. I'm like shaking. So that was So Can You. Did the best I could. I hope y'all like it. I hope it helps someone. It pretty much speaks for itself. This was very, very difficult. Y'all let me know in the comments what y'all think. Be honest. Like this video on your way out. A lot more important than you think. Please subscribe to my channel. April G Squad. This bump. Love y'all. And I'll see y'all this week. Peace out.
Cool. So what are the takeaways from this? Like, number one, huge shout out to her for being strong enough to get through this. I know that couldn't have been easy. I think the important takeaways from this are you have a fan base that has been built around this and a support system, more importantly. So that's super dope. And like the biggest takeaway is the actual doing of it and seeing the people that support you, whether it's the reactions or the comments, etc., etc., etc. That has to be like a beam of light and hope for opportunity for those who are in similar situations that may not have their outlet yet or haven't chosen to, take the jump into getting some type of like personal therapy out there. So that's super dope. I think it's important that stuff like this exists, regardless of what you think about it, positive or negative. There's no denying that there is a place for it in society that is going to be beneficial to those who unfortunately are growing by numbers of people who live through shit like this. So appreciate that you shared it with us, April. I hope things continue to go well for you. Salute, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.